What's going on? In this video I'm going to explain the structure of our Angular project. In the previous video I walked you through the application website we created, and also we knew how to create a new component. Now I'm ready to give you an idea how things work here in this Angular town. Angular is kinda custom templated HTML. This custom element hides a lot of details behind it. Technically you can create your own custom HTML elements without Angular, but Angular provides this to you in a neat way, and it's much more clean if you are building a big web application. Here comes the famous question: where does all this come from? This index.html file, its content is very familiar to HTML files we know. Body, head, meta, link. Look here at this bad boy. This is where the application comes from. This component tag app_root corresponds to this component I'm opening right now, and the components tag is defined here on this file. The corresponding HTML file is also defined along with the styles file. This is how every part of the component is linked together. The file we are on now is what sticks everything together, and it is the brain behind the component. All the logic is implemented here. Now we move to the app module file. This file is like a ledger for your application, as it includes the components you are using in the application. When you create a new component using the CLI, it is automatically added to the declarations property of the ng module. If you didn't use the CLI, you have to do it yourself. External modules you are using are also added here beneath the inputs property. These are mainly modules provided to us by Angular framework to do all the fancy stuff Angular does. And you can find these modules here in the Node Modules folder. This is a folder you don't want to mess with. This one, the provider's property, includes the services you use in your application. We're gonna come to this one in later videos. Finally, this property points to your main component, which is app component in this case, and in most cases actually in Angular projects. Your source folder is where you're going to do your work. Most of it is in the app folder, and the assets is where you put your resources. Now let's get our hands dirty with some code. Let's fill the orders component. It consists of 3 components. Let's now open the terminal to create this trio. Create one for the customers list. It requires the sudo thing. Here it goes again. Create one for the customers list, one for the visits list, and finally one for the orders details list. Let's type down these components we just created into the orders list. I filled the corresponding HTML and CSS files. You can find the sources attached in the description of this video. These are all the files here which I filled. And of course don't forget the styles, the global styles file. This is very important. Let's take a look how it looks like so far. It looks reasonable. Now comes the interesting part. To fill the list inside the customers component, in this left section of the web page, we are gonna create an array in the customers component inside the TypeScript file. It is worth noting, Angular uses TypeScript to implement the components. It is just a clean JavaScript with classes and other fancy stuff. If you don't know it, and most probably you are, don't freak out. If you know JavaScript, you are ready to go through this. I started coding via Angular and I didn't have any idea about TypeScript. Till this moment, there are things I still didn't look for in TypeScript. That's because I didn't need to. You can still understand the code even if you don't fully understand the language. At this moment, we just built our list. It is supposed to be pulled from a database scenario. It's just a constant array of JSON objects for the ID and the customer's name. The question now is, how can we deal with this array in the HTML file? We are gonna write a normal list element, but embedded in it a for loop that is provided by the Angular framework to us. Here, customer is an element of the array that is named customers that we've just defined. Both are variables used by the HTML file. And this is how we retrieve the variables within traditional HTML tags. This is called the mustache syntax. And you can see it is the variable in between double curly braces. And it's definitely not looking like my mustache though. The question is, why didn't we apply the mustache syntax on the for loop above, and the for statement above in between the quotations? That's because this is not a traditional HTML attribute. This is something provided by Angular, and it knows that we are writing variables here. That's why it doesn't require us an explicit literal to force it to know that we are writing a variable in this for statement. Let's find out the proper corresponding styles for the LLM element. And now let's take a look. What do we have so far? Well, I guess I can say we're done for this video. This has been the first video with meat in it, and there are more to come in the next videos. Peace!